All right, so let's refresh you on some numbers. The best 60-game stretches last year for a team, it belonged to the Dodgers, Astros, and Indians, who at various 60-game intervals won 43 of those 60 contests. The best hitter during any 60-game stretch was Ketel Marte, who flirted with 400 at his best. Mike Trout and Eugenio Suarez both went deep 26 times during their best 60-game stretch, and the lowest ERA among qualifiers, Hyun-Jin Ryu, pre-All-Star break, was unhittable, a .80 ERA at one point. So it's in that vein that, by the way, I was so bad at math. This is laughable. Math with Matty V would be riddled with inaccuracies. But we want to do a little project here and give Ron and Tom an opportunity to give us your thoughts based on the 60-game schedule. Okay. And just by way of definition, let's figure out how we came to these numbers. 60 games in a 162-game season, 60 games equates to roughly 37% of the schedule. So that's the number that we're kind of slicing everything down by. Instead of who's going to hit 53 homers, what would 37% of that be? So 37% of 50 homers, which is a gargantuan total, even in a steroid-riddled season, is 18.5. Let's put it at 20, just for the sake of our argument. Yeah. Give me the first player that pops into your mind, Tom, that could hit 20 this year and get there before anybody else.
By the way, you didn't tell me there was going to be math.
That's right. Well played.
You guys have been home with your kids. I'm sure you've been teaching them math, right?
I'm going Cody Bellinger. I mean, listen, the Dodgers lineup is absolutely loaded. You can't avoid pitching to him. I like their schedule. They only have 14 games against teams that had winning records last year. And listen, this guy is an ascendant star in the game, just coming into the best of his power.
I covet what I know and what I've seen, and I saw it last year. Pete Alonso is my guy to get to 20 first. And he hit 53, in fact, last season. He just is a guy that when he gets on a tear can produce 10, 11, 12 home runs in a month. So he's the guy, I think, that in a lineup not as good as the Dodgers, but pretty darn good, is not going to have any holes either. He'll get a lot of pitches to hit.
Would not bet against either one of those guys. All right, let's move on to a pitching topic, Ron. So you take this one first. 37% of a 20-win season is, 7 and change, 7.4. Let's go to 10. Let's round it up to a nice, juicy, even number. Is there a starter that'll win 10 before anybody else?
There's not a starter who's going to win 10. And for this 60-game season, I guess we're counting the win again. But I wouldn't be surprised that someone gets real lucky and a vulture appears and a reliever wins 10 games this year because they're going to be in a lot of ball games. A guy like Josh Hader coming into a lot of games. Okay. In a 60-game season, Josh Hader's got to pitch if you're one run ahead, even, or one run behind. He's got to be in the game every single time. Those games when they're even or behind a run will be the ones where he'll get some wins.
It's interesting. Relief pitcher leading the league in wins. Could happen this year. I don't think any starter is going to win 10, man. I really don't. I mean, I don't know if they'll be stretched out enough to get those kind of decisions. I think some teams are going to go to 6-man rotations, so you lose a starter too. Right. I was thinking more about the ERA. Bob Gibson's 1.12 is in danger. I was thinking a guy like Jack Flaherty, the way he finished the second half of last season, he can do that over 2 months of a season. So, listen, it wouldn't be a record. I know that. 60 games, you can't compare to 162. But that's a magical number in baseball, 112. We might see someone go under that this year. That would not surprise me.
That's interesting. The way Flaherty finished in an ERA standpoint, the way Garrett Cole finished, period, winning 11 of his final 13 starts, unhittable. By the way, congratulations to Garrett Cole. He and his wife celebrating the birth of their first child today. What a great way to kick off summer camp with a new addition. Let's move on to RBIs now. Okay. 37% of 100 RBIs, which still is constituted as a big RBI season, is 37 RBI.
We should be able to get that one.
Kind of math that we can handle. So that's almost too easy. Let's bump it to 50.
Okay.
Who gets to 50 RBIs first, Ron?
Boy, it's going to be a hard call. I'm going to go with the guy who led all of baseball last year with Rendon. I think he's going to have Mike Trout on the bases all day long, and I think he's going to continue what he did in Washington, and that is drive in runs in his first year in L.A. I just am watching him in the NL East the last 6 seasons. He's a guy that just gets it done. He's a coast-to-coast hitter, doesn't have to hit the ball out of the ballpark, and he's a run-producing machine.
I'm with you. I got to agree with that. First of all, Trout is in scoring position when he's on first base. Maybe LaStella or Fletcher in front of him. He's going to have plenty of opportunities to get runners in. And he's the perfect RBI guy. I mean, as you said, he uses the entire field. But that low heart rate that he has, no situation is too big. By the way, that is literal, by the way. He took a stress test to sign his contract with the Angels, and they put him on a treadmill. They couldn't get his heart rate elevated. He almost flunked it because it wouldn't go up. They kept churning the thing and elevating it. Mr. Cool.
Wow. I tip my cap to that guy in a number of ways. If I could find Kyle Schwarber at 12-1 or better, I'm running to the window. Because I think
DH?
As a DH, he's going to be unburdened by where am I going to play today defensively, and I think he's in for a monster 60 games. All right, let's move on. Another category here. Let's talk about base hits, just raw hits. 37% of a 200-hit season, which is still the benchmark for a great campaign, is 74 hits. Tom, why don't you take this one first? Who's the first to 74 knocks?
A lot of hits, 74 knocks in 60 games. First guy that comes to my mind is Jose Altuve. I mean, some of the craziest bat-to-ball skills that you'll see. You know he's an aggressive hitter. Matt, what I love about Altuve is he can take pitches out of the zone and square them up. So, yeah, durable guy for his size, doesn't miss games. I'm going Altuve.
You know, I mentioned this yesterday. You and I were talking that in 2004, Ichiro had 121 hits in 60 games. No one's going to get there.
Wow, ridiculous.
But we already mentioned him today. We had him on the board in one of our graphics, and I think we should give him some love considering the season he had last year. Ketel Marte almost hit 400 in a 60-game stretch. I think he's a guy with bat-to-ball skills that can get to 75+.
All right, last math problem for the day. We'll talk about a team accomplishment here and talk about victories, right? 37% of a 100-win season. Right, we can do this again, 37 wins. But the better question is, can anybody win 40? Can a team get out of the gate here and go 40-20 in the abbreviated season run?
Absolutely. We saw some of the numbers. 43-17, I think, was the best. Dodgers, Houston. I think a team like the Dodgers, and I'm not saying the Dodgers will do it, someone's going 45-15 this summer.
Wow.
It's going to happen.
That's a big number.
It's going to happen.
I think the Dodgers are going to win at least 40. I think they're at least 40-20. The Dodgers, to me, are absolutely loaded. And now you're giving them the DH in that lineup? I mean, it's crazy. Price and Kershaw with no mileage. They've had 4 months here to, you know, save their arms, their bullets, so to speak. I don't see any flaw in this team, Matt. So I can easily see them playing 660 baseball.
Man, 45 wins to go 45-15. You lay out a pretty good case for the Dodgers, among other teams that we look for big things from.